Welcome, friend. So today we're diving into a really fascinating area of leadership.
Yeah, one that goes way beyond just the usual strategies and, quarterly metrics.
Exactly. The sources we've been looking at suggest something. Well, something pretty radical. They argue that most leadership failure isn't some big, sudden crisis or this dramatic collapse.
No, it's a quiet erosion. It's something that happens from the inside out.
And that's really the uncomfortable truth we're digging into.
It is. Our mission today is to uncover why really capable leaders fail. Because it's rarely a lack of talent.
Or opportunity.
Right. It's usually this absence of courage to stand firm and then the lack of vision to move forward, especially when doing the right thing, when obedience starts to get costly.
Okay, let's unpack that core tension. Because what I'm hearing from the sources is that the ground has sort of shifted under leaders.
Charisma isn't enough anymore. When the pressure is on and the applause is gone, you face this choice. Do what feels safe or do what is actually right. And that moment of tension, that's the test. It reveals what you really trust, not what you say in your speeches.
So that's our framework for today, then, this integration of inner formation and outward direction.
Yes, we're looking at the two essential parts. Courage, which is the backbone for the battle, and vision, which gives you the wings for the journey. Backbone and wings. I like that. So let's start right there. What happens when those two get pulled apart? We know they have to work together.
Well, the fracture is, it's almost predictable. You see it happen over and over. Let's take courage without vision first.
Okay.
That courage, when it's disconnected from a real purpose, it just becomes, well, reckless force or stubborn resistance.
Right, like defending a hill just for the sake of defending it.
Exactly. The leader passionately defends a truth, which sounds good, but they have no idea where to lead people next. They're just stuck.
So they confuse being rigid with being resolute. Perfectly put. And then you have the reverse, which is just as bad.
Vision without courage. I'm picturing someone with amazing ideas who just never acts on them.
Precisely. It dissolves into, just religious imagination. Or paralysis. They can paint this beautiful picture of the future, but the second there's resistance, a budget cut, some pushback, they just shrink. The conviction is hollow.
So all those bold plans just stay on the whiteboard.
They never move.
This is a really crucial distinction. It means courage and vision aren't just personality traits, they're disciplines. So let's nail down the definitions we're using, starting with courage.
Okay, so biblical courage. It is not bravado. It's not about being fearless or having this, emotional strength.
Right.
It is moral clarity that is anchored in obedience. You see it right at the foundation with Joshua.
When he takes over from Moses.
Yes. God tells him 3 times, be strong and courageous. But he immediately ties it to the command to be careful to do according to all the law.
So the operational heart of courage isn't a feeling. It's an action. It's doing what you know is right simply because a higher principle demands it.
That's it. It's the disciplined act. It's not about whether you feel afraid. It's whether you align your actions with that principle, regardless of the consequences for you personally.
That totally shifts the focus from self-confidence to allegiance. Okay, so what about vision?
So again, vision in this context is not ambition. It's not a 5-year plan in a PowerPoint.
Okay.
It's God-revealed direction. It's a clarity about the future that transcends your current mess and pulls you forward even when everything around you is pushing back.
It's like the compass in a whiteout.
Yes.
Yeah.
It keeps you oriented toward God's future instead of being trapped by today's limitations, the budget cuts, the inertia. It's the engine. Courage is the steering wheel.
Okay, let's get into the diagnosis now, because this is where the sources get, I think, really unsettling. They warn about this hidden cost of playing it safe, this idea that most failures come from a slow drift. Tell us about this erosion.
This is the most damaging kind of failure because it's almost invisible. It comes from these small internal compromises.
The ones that feel totally reasonable in the moment.
Completely. You can justify every single one. Conventional wisdom tells leaders to minimize risk, right? But that's often just fear wearing a disguise.
Fear disguises itself as prudence or realism. We can't afford to do the right thing right now.
That's the language, isn't it? It's so compelling. Vision gets postponed until the timing is better. Obedience gets softened to avoid conflict.
And what starts as, a sensible pause
Quietly becomes a retreat. And the leader's still there. They're still holding meetings. But the inner supports the conviction. It's all thinning out.
Let's look at some examples. How does this internal fracture, this slow drift, actually show up in leaders we know?
Well, King Saul is the classic case study. His downfall didn't start with some huge moral failure.
No.
It began with the fear of the people. He even confesses it. He says, I was afraid of the people, and so I gave in to them.
He made a strategic choice out of panic, not malice.
Exactly. And in that moment, fear replaced God's command as his governing force. He was still the king, but he'd lost the moral authority to lead.
That's such a powerful distinction. What about Solomon? He seems like the picture of success.
And that's the danger. His heart slowly divided under this glittering surface of success and fame.
There was no sudden collapse.
No, he's building the temple, he's building the nation, but at the same time, he's making compromises that pull his devotion away. It shows that external success can be the perfect camouflage for internal compromise.
And that ties directly into this idea the sources raise of vision fatigue.
Yes, the constant pressure, the crisis after crisis, it just compresses the soul's ability to dream boldly.
And when that happens, you default to just maintenance.
You do. You start protecting the institution instead of advancing the mission. You confuse stability with faithfulness.
And at the root of it is that fear of loss. Losing status, losing influence, losing resources.
Right. That fear of loss becomes a rival lord. It subtly displaces that reverent awe, the fear of the Lord. That is the true foundation for obedience.
So if this drift is so subtle, how do we reverse it? The pressure leaders face it's intense. It feels like the enemy.
But we have to reframe it. Pressure isn't the enemy, it's the proving ground. God forms leaders through resistance, not by helping them get around it. Courage gets forged where fear is faced, and vision gets sharpest when you're forced to seek God instead of just relying on your own momentum.
This brings us to the uncomfortable topic of cost. We all want the leadership model that minimizes risk, but these sources are really uncompromising about sacrifice.
And we have to confront what they call the myth of neutrality.
The assumption that standing still is the safe option, that it minimizes loss.
Exactly. But standing still also has a cost. It just transfers the payment.
From the leader to the mission.
Yes. You avoid the personal discomfort, but the mission stagnates or its truth gets compromised. The loss is still there. It's just been redirected.
So loss is actually meant to be a refining tool.
It strips away our false securities, right? Our dependence on money or popularity. It shows us what we're really allegiant to. Paul even talked about counting his greatest gains as loss for the sake of Christ.
Let's go back to courage for a second. Courage as obedience. Is it possible to be genuinely brave and still be completely wrong?
Oh, absolutely. And Peter in Gethsemane is the clearest picture of this.
When he draws the sword.
Yes. I mean, that's an act of genuine bravery, fierce loyalty. He was willing to die for his leader. But Jesus immediately rebukes him.
Why? If he was being courageous, what was wrong?
His courage was defending the wrong vision. Peter was ready for a fight for a kingdom of force. Jesus was inaugurating a kingdom of surrender.
So his courage was misaligned. It wasn't a failure of nerve.
It was a failure of vision. It shows that leaders can be incredibly sincere, incredibly courageous, and profoundly wrong at the same time.
That's a sobering thought. So bringing this all together, how should we approach leadership today? If success isn't about metrics or applause, what is the ultimate measure?
The ultimate model, the definitive revelation, is the cross. That's where courage and vision just perfectly converge.
How so?
Well, the courage was perfected in obedience.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus felt fear so fully in Gethsemane, yet he refused to let that fear rewrite his allegiance.
And the vision.
The vision was clarified through the suffering. The apparent failure of death was actually concealing the ultimate victory of resurrection.
So leadership isn't validated by the immediate outcome.
No, it's validated by faithfulness to eternal purposes. This means a leader's legacy isn't determined by their platform or their prominence.
It's determined by faithful obedience over time.
Exactly. Think of Moses dying outside the Promised Land. His influence came from his inner formation, not from finishing the task. God is more concerned with who we are becoming than what we are building.
So for our listener, the learner who wants to apply this, what's the key takeaway for their daily life, their daily decisions?
The measure of your leadership is the faithfulness you embody, not the platform you command. We have to prioritize inner formation over outer expansion. The real advantage, in the long run, doesn't go to the most innovative leader,
But to the most anchored one.
to the most anchored ones. Sustained leadership requires what's called a long obedience, that intentional daily integration of courage, vision, prayer, and rest.
This has been Well, a really profound look at the quiet work behind any effective leadership. We've covered integrating that backbone of courage with the wings of vision. We've seen how fear can mask itself as wisdom.
And why that costly obedience is the only real proving ground for integrity.
It really is.
And this is the invitation for you today, to stop that drift, to recover that moral clarity without becoming rigid, and to find that forward momentum without letting fear set the pace. You're called to both stand and to build. And the conversation you can't avoid, the one that really determines whether you drift or advance, is this one. What would change in your life if you stopped asking, how do I protect what I have? And started asking, what is God asking me to stand for and to build today?